Police emergency. What's the emergency, please?
I stabbed a girl through the throat. And I'm covered in blood.
When did this happen?
About half hour ago, I think. I'm pretty sure you're not used to people who have done something calling up and saying this is
I'm not admitting it, to be honest with you, no. Can you see it? She's bleeding.
She's not just bleeding, she's not breathing. She's dead. I'm the perpetrator. I'm not the victim.
In Birmingham, West Midlands police are dispatched to an address after a man called 999 claiming to have killed a woman. Crime scene coordinator Joe Ward is leading the forensic investigation.
23 years in a job. The feelings are the same, it doesn't get any easier. I'm still nervous as I'm putting my white suit on. There's always kind of apprehension, just the unknown, I suppose, of what I'm going to walk into.
Does she live here on her own?
No, it's HMO. So I believe there's 4 flats, effectively.
Yeah.
It is quite unusual for a suspect to ring the police and confess to a stabbing. That doesn't alter the way we carry out our scene examination. You can't assume anything. The suspect could change his story. There might have been other people involved. You have to process that scene, and the forensic evidence can either disprove or prove his account.
All right, ready?
Half a mile away from the scene, officers arrive to arrest the man who confessed to the stabbing in the call.
Step out! Step out! On the floor! Step out! Onto the floor! Do it now!
Hands behind your back! Hands behind your back! Drop that out of your hand! Drop that out of your hand!
It's the tea towels wrapped round, I can't drop it.
The suspect is 27-year-old Pablo Hode.
Priority message you've made to Whitmore Road, you've got the offender in cuffs. Right, what's this on your hand?
I sliced my hands open and my hands pissing with blood.
You got any other injuries I need to be aware of?
I don't know if there's injuries there, as you can see from my top. The knife went through my top twice.
Okay, right. You gonna be able to sit up?
The suspect's phone is seized and he is taken into custody.
Yeah. Okay, take a seat in there, mate.
At the crime scene, Joe and investigators carry out an initial assessment while the victim's body is still in the flat.
Christ almighty. It's absolutely saturated, isn't it, here?
You got blood spatter everywhere.
The scene is quite shocking. There's a lot of blood on the walls, on the doors, on the flooring. She does receive some substantial injuries to cause that blood loss.
The victim is 27-year-old Shannon Stanley.
She's also been lying on that pillar.
Good grief.
It is tragic. There's a young woman that's had their life taken away. We do have to, within scenes, kind of relive the last moments of their life, because obviously you're trying to put together what's actually happened.
Well, one of the officers outside said something about her being found and moved.
And obviously you've got the contact marks, haven't you, on the walls? And then we've got obviously the spray as well, haven't you? On both doors, isn't it? Either side.
Yeah.
So obviously something's happened here.
Blood splatter in several different rooms in the flat makes it unclear where the attack took place.
So obviously she's been placed here after.
Yeah.
I can't see the blood loss just coming from that one injury to her forehead. It's got to fit an artery, hasn't it?
With the amount of blood in there, it's quite unusual. But it gives me quite a lot of evidence to process.
It's got the cannabis in here, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of drinking there as well.
Cheers.
There's evidence of the gathering of people all having a drink within the living room. Potentially there might have been a witness to this offence.
We've got to find out who was at the party.
Yeah.
Was there kind of any arguments? What's the reason for this?
There might have been other people within the scene at the time of the offence, people who lived at that address. We can identify witnesses within that scene via DNA and fingerprints of those items. If they don't come forward,
We did not say anything about my defence. We did not mention when questioned. She'll be later on in court. Giving evidence or argument.
The suspect, Pablo, is brought into custody to be processed.
He's aggravated a bit of a hand injury. He's started to actively bleed. We've sort of bandaged up as best we can. All right.
Might need the nurse just to come and have a look at it.
He is given medical attention for the wound on his hand, which he claims to have suffered during the fatal stabbing. Pablo's clothes, fingerprints and DNA are taken as evidence, and his phone is sent to digital forensics for analysis.
So, Operation Driller Day, which is a beetle, I'm told.
The case is being investigated by Detective Inspector Jim Mahon and his homicide team.
Suspect in custody is Pablo Hode. He called in to admit killing the deceased and he stated the murder weapon was a knife. The premises was accessed via a door at the back, and you go straight up the stairs, and there's 4 separate bedrooms, all with coded locks on the door. As a murder detective, you have to be questioning. You've got to not assume anything. Just because someone's confessed to killing somebody doesn't mean that we can just go home. He might be lying, or he might change his story, or be covering up for somebody else. We can't just solely rely on that confession alone.
The victim, Shannon, and the suspect, Pablo, rented separate rooms in the property.
The deceased was found in the bedroom, but they took her out to do the first aid in the lounge because there was space on the floor. It is an absolute bloodbath. There's sprays blood everywhere in pretty much every room other than rooms 1 and 2. Aims and objectives then. Number 1, we need to try and keep this suspect detained. We need to locate witnesses, secure and preserve evidence through forensic searches. We need to find the knife principally and to arrange the forensic post-mortem. We need to locate a next of kin. Right, thank you all. Somebody has been killed. We need to establish exactly what their cause of death was, what the motivations and the reasonings are behind it. It's really important that we question the suspect straight away, because they can lead us to forensic evidence to convict them of that crime.
Detectives take Pablo in for questioning.
Right, if you want to take a seat there for me.
So, we're here today to talk about a murder.
Can I just read a statement out that Pablo's made beforehand?
Of course.
It states, I, Pablo Howard, will say as follows. I'm aware of and have witnessed Shannon Sally make numerous threats to stab people. On the 10th of May 2022, during an argument, she picked up a kitchen knife and threatened to stab me. She said, I'm going to fucking kill you. I don't care about anyone. I'll kill anyone. She came at me with the knife in her hand. Feeling that I was to be stabbed, I grabbed hold of the knife by the blade and twisted it out of her hand. She took a step back. She turned her head towards the side and looked towards a meat cleaver that was by the sink. She moved towards the meat cleaver and went to grab it with her hand. As she was about to pick it up, I stabbed her. I did so fearing for my life, believing she was intending to attack me with the meat cleaver. This is a threat she has made to me before. And that's signed, as I said, by Pablo and dated today's date.
Pablo's claiming that he acted in self-defense. In layman's terms, if someone attacks you, you are allowed to protect yourself from harm. You're not criminally responsible for that death. So this just changes the whole nature of the investigation. Ultimately, Shannon's been killed, so we need forensics to establish, was his life under threat from Shannon? Pablo could be a murderer, but if it's deemed that he acted in defense of himself, then he could walk free. So the stakes are really high.
With the suspect claiming that he acted in self-defense, specialist crime scene investigator Julie Slater joins Joe at the scene to help gather crucial evidence from the victim's body.
Pablo has confessed to this offence. So if we find his footprint or we find his fingerprints, that doesn't prove or disprove his account because he's already put himself at the scene. So it does make it more difficult with regards to forensic evidence. With self-defence, it's always a question of what force is necessary to deter someone. Was it proportionate? Pablo's account is that she came at him with the knife and he's had no alternative to get her off. That could be a possibility. This is what we need to identify.
Is that injury to the left side of the forehead?
Yeah, looks like it's going to be quite deep.
Yeah.
Possibly quite deep.
It's quite long, isn't it?
Yes, long and linear.
Yeah. I can't see the blood loss just coming from that one injury to her forehead.
Yeah.
The body in a murder investigation is a scene. We class it as a scene as well because we can gather forensic evidence from Shannon's body.
If, you know, they've had an altercation or she's been grabbing at him, she's not got some of his DNA in it.
Well, let's hope so. That would be great, wouldn't it, if she has?
I always say that we're actually speaking for the victims because they can't speak for themselves.
On her left hand there's a potential defence injury.
Yeah.
It's certainly quite nasty. So she kind of put her hand up. Looks like it's kind of gone through.
It's gone between the fingers. Yeah.
And quite deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes through, yeah.
On Shannon's left hand, I can see quite a significant injury, possibly a defence injury. Did he need to use that much force? Does that fit in really with his account of self-defence?
Photographs of Shannon's injuries, DNA, and clothing, including a blood-stained jacket, are collected and sent for analysis.
It's like a puffer jacket, yeah. She's got injuries to her head, so she was obviously wearing that at the time.
This appears to be the only cutlery drawer.
Yeah.
And there is a lack, in general, of sharp knives.
Yes,
isn't there?
yeah.
Where are all the knives gone? We can't actually find any weapon within that scene. But interestingly enough, there's not actually any knives within the knife drawer. You at least have one or two sharp knives, normally within a kitchen, so it is quite unusual. There's obviously been a knife that's been used to commit the injuries to Shannon, and it's no longer in the scene.
Detectives start to review footage from nearby CCTV cameras to track Shannon and Pablo's movements and identify any potential witnesses they were with in the hours leading up to the fatal stabbing.
CCTV makes or breaks a lot of our cases now. People have CCTV and ring doorbells. Restaurants and commercial venues have CCTV. So even if the actual murder's not caught on CCTV, you can piece together the events of the day.
So all these are cameras, and you can see the route that they take.
So you sort of tracked them when you saw them come in and all?
Yes.
Yeah. What we know is that there was a number of people within the house, so we then look at the CCTV in that area to try and see who those people are, try and find who the witnesses are. We're also just looking at people's behaviours throughout the day. Are they getting along well? Are there signs of arguments? Are there disagreements?
So they're coming from the direction of Mount Pleasant up Coventry Road. And then that's the victim, and then it's coming back from Morrison's. They've got Morrison's carrier bags.
Cameras capture the victim walking with a flatmate, just hours before the attack.
So then this is back to Whitmore, and this is Pablo and Wakar.
Police identify Pablo, along with a friend, Wakar Ali, on CCTV. Wakar has already told police that he was not present when Shannon was stabbed, but that Pablo turned up at his house shortly before he was arrested.
And then this is much later on, going towards McDonald's. And that's Pablo.
CCTV shows Pablo joining Shannon and their flatmate, less than 2 hours before he called 999.
That group seemed to get on okay at this point.
Yeah.
And from what I can see from the cameras inside McDonald's, they go to the toilet, they're all drinking in there. Nothing happens between them.
It is strange watching the CCTV. You know that at some point the person stood next to Shannon's gonna kill her. You can see on the CCTV that Pablo and Shannon, they're both comfortable together, they're both friendly. You're sort of then thinking, well, what's the trigger point that set off that chain of events which leads to Shannon being killed? The witness may potentially know.
The flatmate identified on CCTV on the evening of the stabbing is brought in for questioning. If she witnessed the fight, she could confirm or disprove Pablo's story of self-defense.
We're just going to start off. I just want you to just tell me everything that you know, okay, about what's happened.
Yeah. So we walked up to Morrison's to get some peach snaps. And then when we went into Morrison's, the machine wasn't working, so she punched it.
Okay. What was her personality like, if that makes sense?
like, it differs. So, like, she'll be all right, and then next minute someone will walk up and she'll be like, oh, what are you looking at?
So just on that Pablo, describe his character.
He's a very loving person. He would do, like, anything.
Can you describe his mood to us and how he was feeling?
He was fine.
So you've got back, and what have you done then?
She's put the beers down, rolled another joint, and then all of a sudden it just like kicked off. Shannon and Pablo are literally just shouting at each other. By this stage, I got up off the sofa and said, like, I'm going in the bedroom, shut the door, and then I heard a massive bang. Opened the door, all I see is like blood everywhere, Pablo running past me. I've gone back in the room, shut the door. 2 seconds after, I hear bang, bang, bang. So I've opened the door and Shannon's standing there covered in blood going, call me an ambulance, call me an ambulance. So I called 999, like shouting down the phone to the ambulance people saying, can someone help me please? Like, she's bleeding, she's coughing up blood, like, I don't know what to do. And then next minute she just went limp. So
you've done what you could do, haven't you?
Okay. Lastly, just for completeness, are there any sharp knives, proper kitchen knives?
Yeah, there is some sharp knives in there. There's quite a big one.
So if that knife isn't there now, say, do you know where that might be?
I wouldn't have no idea.
The female witness provides us with an account where she supported what Pablo's saying and paints Pablo in a very good light. But she's not present when the events have taken place, so we still only have Pablo's account of what happened in the room. So it's really important we try and find more forensic evidence that could tell us what happened to Shannon.
The witness's confirmation that there were knives in the kitchen of the flat prior to Shannon's death prompts police to widen their search to the property where Pablo was arrested.
It's really important for any investigation to try and locate the murder weapon. The knife that's been used to commit the murder will yield some forensic evidence.
Here?
Yes.
The meat cleaver found in a sink appears to have been washed, like he's attempted to remove forensic evidence.
Blood staining over it. Handle and blade. Blood stained.
I'm quite surprised that, I didn't realise we were going to find 5 knives in total. It's quite hard to understand why Pablo has taken all those knives away from the scene. Why has he hidden the knives? There's an awful lot of questions that need answering.
We've done a search on the Whitmore Road address. Our forensic team have found some knives in there, so there's the grey and white. Okay, there's 2 other knives. What knife did you stab Shannon with?
No comment.
Is that the knife that you took off her earlier?
No comment.
Can you describe that kitchen knife to me at all? Can you describe that meat cleaver to me at all, mate? Okay. Pablo, what's happened in the house? Obviously, there's been some argument between you and Shannon. There hasn't. So, why did this argument start, mate?
I asked someone to leave the house.
Okay.
She didn't like that. Then she started going crazy like she usually does, shouting and swearing. And I told her, don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm like your other mates who you talk shit to.
Okay.
So she picked up, sounds weird, she picked up my knife from the draining board.
Okay.
She approached me with it, saying she was gonna kill me and stab me. So I grabbed the blade with this hand.
Okay.
And I put my thumb on top of the handle bit and I twisted it up in the other hand. I didn't know like what had actually happened to my hand. I just knew that the knife had sliced into my fingers while I was trying to get it off of her.
Okay.
And even then, there was nothing like in my head that I was going to use that knife even after I took it off of her.
Okay.
Until she went to grab the meat cleaver. So I stabbed her, and then she still, she's grabbing the meat cleaver and trying to swing it. I carried on stabbing her, but I weren't thinking about like, I'm gonna seriously hurt her. And then like she slouched over, but she's still swinging the meat cleaver towards my legs. So I'm like with my legs back, still trying to get her to stop. But then as soon as she dropped it and she said, "I'm sorry, I'll stop it. Just let me go to my room." I let her go to her room. I collected all of the knives from the kitchen, and my plan was just to put them in my room so she didn't have no access to them.
So when she dropped the cleaver, have you tried to give her any help at all?
No, but if I'd known she was seriously hurt, I wouldn't have even left the property. I would have rang 999 the way I did when I knew she was seriously hurt. I would have been still at the property trying to help her because that was never my aim. And as soon as I knew, I rang and tried to get her help. I was just trying to protect myself. That's what I was trying to do.
Okay.
Self-defense is not a simple concept. His response has to be reasonable, necessary, and proportionate. So if someone came to punch you, you would be justified in pushing them away. But if someone came at you with a gun, then you might be justified in running them over in your car. So you have to balance that level of threat with the response. But to flee the scene with weapons and hide them makes you question his account. If he is lying, the lie's just got a lot bigger.
In an attempt to verify Pablo's account, the recovered knives are examined.
There's just blood everywhere.
Looks pretty covered, doesn't it?
Yep.
Pablo was saying that he's been attacked with the knife and also the meat cleaver. But we'd found 5 knives in total. Have all of the knives being used on Shannon or just one in particular? Is it proportionate with regards to him saying it was self-defence? A further examination of those knives hopefully will ascertain which one has been used.
First, they look at the grey-handled kitchen knife.
It does look quite fatty in places and quite greasy, which is a characteristic of a knife being used as a stabbing implement.
When a knife penetrates a body, it goes through a layer of fat, and when the knife is pulled out of the body, it may leave traces of fat on the blade.
I'm after handler DNA as opposed to touch DNA. So if someone's just touched it, we're looking for someone that's actually used it.
We start by recovering any cellular material to get a good handler DNA sample. Skin cells, for example, or sweat. It's obviously invisible to the naked eye.
So much blood.
We then examine the knives under a microscope for blood. Blood is a much richer source of DNA.
There's some ridge details as well. It's quite faint.
Yeah. Is there indication that he's got an injury, did he say?
It says he's cut his hand.
Yeah. So that might indicate that it's been held with blood-wet hands.
Samples are taken from all 5 knives, including the meat cleaver, to be compared to Pablo and Shannon's DNA profiles. If both Shannon's blood and Pablo's DNA are found on the same knife, it could identify which one killed Shannon and support Pablo's account.
Joe Ward, crime scene coordinator.
Oh, hiya, Joe. It's Lucy from Eurofins. I've got some results for you from the knives in the Shannon Stanley case.
Oh, OK. Lovely.
So the meat cleaver, we sampled the hilt where the handle meets the blade.
Yeah.
And that produced an apparent major DNA profile matching Shannon. Given the knives were found within her address, we'd expect some of her DNA to be on them.
Yeah, OK.
And then we found blood on the grey-handled knife.
That was a larger one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Knife, yeah.
The blood on the blade gave a complete major DNA profile matching Shannon. And then the blood on the handle of that knife produced a complete major DNA profile matching Pablo.
OK, it's interesting. Because Pablo's account is that he's cut his hand by pulling, obviously, the knife off Shannon. So he's bleeding, isn't he?
Yeah, obviously that injury would need to have been bleeding at the time for that transfer to have occurred.
We've got a contact blood stain on one of the knives which produced a major DNA profile matching the suspect himself. That might be because he did have a bleeding injury, which corresponds with what he's saying.
Could you say that that would possibly been used as a weapon on Shannon at all?
My conclusions that I've drawn in relation to all of the knives are the same, to be honest. We haven't seen any specific blood patterns on them that might suggest any of the knives have been used as a weapon. It could be that they did exhibit some of the features, but those features have been removed or altered as a result of Pablo moving the knives to a different location or washing them or anything like that.
While there's some evidence to support Pablo's claim he was injured taking the knife from Shannon, the tests do not conclusively say if one or more weapons were used against her.
It's very frustrating from my point of view. I was hoping for some evidence that would either prove or disprove his account. So the examination of the knives really haven't took us any further forward.
In digital forensics, Pablo's phone is examined by a data specialist to track its usage on the day of the killing.
I think the average person would be quite surprised with how much is recorded and kept on the device. Messages, calls, contacts, web history. We can extract data and images and videos which have previously been deleted from applications which sell themselves on removing data, i.e. Snapchat. When we extract a person's device, we can uncover their deepest and darkest secrets, even though you think they're deleted.
There's a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
While data is extracted from the phone, Joe calls in blood pattern analysts to interrogate the sequence of events Pablo described. They start in the kitchen, where Pablo claims to have stabbed Shannon before leaving unaware that she was fatally injured.
been going to scenes for probably 22, 23 years now, and this is the most blood I think I've seen in one property.
Very fine spatter, extremely.
Yeah.
So how's it got all the way over there?
That's all.
Yeah, they're all going downwards, aren't they?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
By looking at all the blood patterns, we can reconstruct what's taken place at the scene. We can say where the victim sustained their injuries, how ferocious was the incident. It's about looking at the distribution of blood and what did it tell us.
We've got blood runs here that have run over in the 2 drawers.
We're looking at the size of the stains, the actual shapes of the individual stains as well. We can tell which direction they've travelled before they hit the surface.
We've got this spatter low down on the skirting. The drips are quite heavy, aren't they?
Yeah.
These are actually spatters of blood which have landed on the doors and they've run down, so it's a relatively large volume of blood. Quite strong indication started in the kitchen, mainly based on the widespread distribution and variety of blood patterns present.
Okay, so you've got some kind of event happening, blood's being spattered in here, the door's closed, and it's maybe continued into the other room. It's like a trail, isn't it?
Here, isn't it?
Blood is also present in the corridor leading to the bedrooms, where the team make a significant discovery.
There's bubbles in some of these, look.
Oh, there are. Yeah, the big ones.
That supports a wound affecting a windpipe.
If someone's been stabbed in the throat or maybe in the neck or somewhere where there's penetrating the airway, then the blood's coming out of the body is mixed with air.
It's very likely that the victim was bleeding from an arterial injury, which are indication of quite a forceful breach of arteries. You can sometimes see arterial injuries whereby the blood is spurted quite high. I've seen arterial injuries maybe 8 feet high on the wall.
This is covered in blood.
When Pablo initially spoke to the police, he said he didn't call 999 because he thought Shannon was okay when he left. The blood patterning tells a completely different story. It suggests that there was blood spraying out. Most people aren't going to think that that's not a serious injury that requires medical help.
I just thought I'd go through these post-mortem results.
Yes.
To confirm whether Shannon sustained an arterial injury, as the blood at the scene suggests, Joe goes through the post-mortem report with Jim.
So she's got at least possibly 12 sharp force injuries according to the post-mortem.
The number of stab wounds that someone's got is really key to self-defense. If you're saying you're under attack and you're having to stab someone to protect yourself, Shannon's got multiple injuries. Pablo's got an injury to his hand, so to inflict so many injuries in self-defense seems less and less plausible.
So she's got quite deep wounds to the left side of her forehead, so she's got one here.
Yeah.
But obviously the most significant is this one here, which is just kind of behind her ear. And that's the one that has caused death because it's gone through some major vessels. She's also got kind of defence injuries in her left hand, and it was kind of in this area here. And that had actually gone right the way through. So it's obviously take quite a lot of force to,
Yes.
for that to go through. So whether, obviously defence injury, whether she's kind of, trying to protect her head or her face, and as she's done that, and he's kind of...
Pablo is left-handed, so you would expect that Shannon, if they were facing each other, would have injuries to her right side. If he's left-handed,
Yeah.
and you've gone at me with a knife,
Yeah.
and his wound on his hand is protecting the knife, takes it off her,
Yeah.
and then attacks, you would expect the injuries to be on
To the
more
right.
to the left, to your
more
right.
To the right,
yes.
yeah. But obviously the main one, I've seen quite significant one, is to the left, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's interesting, you know, what position was Shannon in?
Yeah.
Was she kind of facing away or
Yeah, so he's done it from behind.
yeah.
If you kill somebody when their back's turned to you or you're attacking them while they're trying to protect themselves, are they that much of a threat? We've got quite a lot of forensic evidence of Pablo not telling us the truth, but that's not enough to convict somebody. We have to prove it beyond reasonable doubt to a jury. We still don't have anything that's concrete that says it wasn't self-defense.
Quite heavily bloodstained, that is.
With the post-mortem revealing that Shannon suffered a considerable number of injuries, Joe examines her coat, recovered from the crime scene, to assess the level of violence used by Pablo.
These are almost like child sizes, aren't they?
It's quite petite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shannon's approximately 5'4" in height, and I'd say probably about 6.5, 7 stone in weight. What level of force is necessary to deter someone so small and so petite as Shannon?
Can you just check? Is there any? Because obviously she was stabbed to the left side of her neck.
So that's that side, isn't it?
Yeah. From the post-mortem, we can see, you know, the injuries that she's got to her body. It corresponds to the damage to the jacket. Obviously, these two, we know that she's got 3 injuries to her head, so and yeah, back of the head. And both of these have both gone through.
Yeah.
That suggests to me that she's had her hood on. Had it up, yeah. I'm just thinking, has that damage actually gone all the way through? So it's just gone through to the jacket, so it's not made contact with her skin. So we've got what looks like damage caused by a knife. So if we turn the jacket over, we can see it's not gone through, so it wouldn't have made contact with the skin. It's obviously just gone so far into the jacket and then not come out the other side. And she had no injuries to a chest or abdomen on the post-mortem. This is quite interesting, similar to the one on the front of the jacket. Obviously, this is to the right sleeve of the jacket, but there's no reported stab wound to the right side of her arm.
And the inside, the filling of the coat is still white, so it would indicate fresh damage.
So it's obviously mean that he's been stabbing. So he's obviously tried to stab her more times than what we're seeing from the post-mortem result.
The amount of times that Shannon's been stabbed, it's obviously a prolonged, kind of, I suppose, quite frenzied attack. Pablo is claiming self-defence. It's quite hard to understand how a self-defence that she's received so many injuries.
Joe also reviews photographs of Pablo's clothing, recovered after his arrest, for signs he was attacked by Shannon in the way that he described.
Looking at the jacket, there's actual damage marks. There's 5 areas of damage. The 2 at the top here, possibly been caused by a cigarette burn or something like that. But these 3 here definitely are consistent with being caused by a sharp instrument. I'm just looking at the white vest top. There's 3 areas indicated by the arrows there, which show damage marks. So they've gone right the way through the top. And they're all consistent with being caused by a sharp instrument. He said he's been attacked by Shannon, but he's not actually mentioned in his interview that the knife has made contact and caused any damage to his clothing. Why? It certainly raises questions.
With forensic evidence suggesting Pablo may be lying, investigator Andy Hiles analyses data extracted from his phone from the night of the attack.
So this is a period that I'm particularly interested in before the murder took place at 0034. So I just want to have a quick look at the chats that he's had. So here I can see that there's Snapchat messages. I've got part of the message in the description. Not really, but will be, these tried to stab me. Got my hand sliced open. But the question is, what's the context of that? So I'm able to now look and see if there's any audio or any video that marries up in the time. I have got one here that's seconds before that message is sent.
They try and fucking fully kill me up in the middle of the street. 2 cars pulled up, jumped out, started trying to stab me, sliced my clothes up while I'm trying to dodge, swinging fucking knives and that. I've seen worse on myself. It's cut up, but it's not that bad. Because I managed to pull a knife out myself, so I was swinging back at them.
The mobile number that the voice message is sent to belongs to Pablo's friend, Wakar Ali.
Gives me the timestamp from the handset, so I can see here that the timing of that message sits before our murder. So if you've got an account which says that the injury occurred during the assault, well, he's talking about an injury to his hand before that assault has taken place, which would then suggest that that isn't the case at all. He hasn't sustained that during the attack. He's in fact sustained this earlier. And he's also talking about having a knife with him during the course of that attack.
Pablo, let's get this done then. Okay.
This is a big breakthrough. Pablo says he's been attacked by men with knives and that they've actually sliced up his hand. Whether that's to do with gangs or for some other reason, we don't know. But that suggests at least that he's lied about how he's got his hand injury. Also, that message to Wakar, he explains why he's got the stab wounds to his clothing.
Detectives bring Pablo back in for interview to put the new evidence to him.
At this interview, our plan is to present new information that we've found that might contradict what he's told us and start to say, this isn't adding up. And this is your chance now to tell us the truth.
Okay, so obviously you had contact with Wacky on Snapchat. 10:23 in the evening, he's received a call from you saying you've been jumped and your clothes have been cut, causing cuts to your hoodie. Is that what's happened, mate?
I'm not going into that.
Pablo, when you were arrested, you had holes and slashes in your clothes. Who'd done that? It looks as though you've been stabbed. And somebody stabbed you or tried to hit you with a knife.
I'm not going into that.
Okay. Were you angry at that point?
Yeah, a little bit.
Pablo hasn't really acknowledged any of the evidence. He said he doesn't want to talk about the earlier altercation. He's received injuries, he's been attacked. You know, he must be quite worked up. There's a possibility that his state of mind's led to him being a lot more brutal in his attack of Shannon.
I have got to show you some photos. These are photos of injuries that Shannon's got. Okay? They're not nice photos. You still... Okay. Well, I'd invite you to... This is a cut above her left eye. It's a large cut, looks probably 2 to 3 inches in length and probably about a centimetre wide. And it looks like what we describe as a chopping motion.
chop.
Shannon's got an open wound to her neck, and there was blood sprayed everywhere, essentially, on the walls, it was spraying about. Did you see that injury on Shannon before you left?
No comment.
Did you see blood spraying out?
No comment.
Now, you said yesterday when you took the knife out you saw some blood. How much blood did you see?
No comment.
Okay. Are you okay, Pablo?
Do you want a break?
Do you have a few seconds to compose yourself, mate?
At this point, I'm starting to think Shannon never had a knife at all. Has he just killed her and has fabricated a whole web of lies, portraying her to be violent, to try and justify every injury, every movement? You know, there's a real possibility now that he's just killed her in cold blood.
In light of new evidence that Pablo was attacked earlier in the day, detectives review further CCTV cameras from the surrounding area and make an unexpected discovery.
This is walk there, is it?
This is the walk there, yes.
Filmed shortly before the attack, it shows Pablo en route to the scene with his friend Wakar, who told police he was not present when Shannon was stabbed.
So 23, 23 is crossing in, and they do a fist bump there.
And then this is them
That's
leaving.
them coming back after she's dead.
Post-murder.
Yes.
Another camera reveals Wakar and Pablo walking away from the flat moments after the attack has taken place.
You can see some dark marks on the shoulders of his tracksuit, are white normally, but there's some dark marks. They walk until they get a bit further into Camelot Way, and then run. So it's very different to Wakar's statement. Wakar says that Pablo turns up to his house having phoned him saying he'd done something terrible and that Wakar didn't leave. But obviously that's not correct.
So, clearly people are lying.
Yeah.
We've got Wakar, who's potentially someone who's present in that room. So Wakar's going to know exactly what's happened. He could give us an account which will really help all that supporting evidence that we've got.
With evidence Pablo's friend Wakar Ali was lying, police arrest him and bring him into custody for questioning.
Assisting an offender in relation to a murder. Now, you won't be sitting here if we believed your account, mate, because we don't believe you, because obviously we've investigated it, we've got evidence to the contrary. You're saying you're there during the offence. What's gone on at that present, mate?
Shannon and Pablo were having a go at each other, shouting at his face, screaming. He was doing the same thing. And then she turned around and said, I'm gonna slice up everybody in the house. And then he's obviously lost control. He's flipped, he's grabbed her from here, he's taken her all the way in the kitchen, and she's obviously throwing the body on the kitchen top. Like he was like glued to Shannon, like he was actually trying to like kill her, like he meant to.
Now, you've just made a motion where you've done like an overhead motion, like a downward motion.
Yeah, like this. Like that.
Okay, but did Shannon have any weapons? What did Shannon do at that
She
point?
didn't have nothing, she was defenseless.
Did he just use the one knife to stab her, or did he use multiple knives?
I think he used one knife.
Okay.
I don't know why he had 3 knives in his hand.
We recovered a meat cleaver as well. Did you see where that meat cleaver come from?
Yeah, that was Shannon Stanley's meat cleaver.
Did she have that meat cleaver at any point during the fight?
No, she didn't.
It's the high five moment. That's a really, really good moment because we've got the scientific forensic evidence that supports what Wakar's saying. The amount of blood at the scene, and the number of injuries to Shannon, and he's lied about his hand injury.
Okay, mate. You need to come and speak to the sergeant. Come on.
Pablo's story of self-defense is now in tatters. It just does not hold any weight anymore.
Now, a charge has been authorised for murder. This is a very serious offence. Murder, I don't think it can really get much more serious than that. So the next question I always get asked is, will I grant bail?
No.
I cannot grant bail for murder. You are going to be remanded, so you're going to stay here, and you're going to be taken to court tomorrow morning.
Isn't someone let my mum know it's there?
We will try to contact your mum. A3, please. Thank you very much.
The most compelling piece of evidence in this investigation is the amount of injuries that she's received and at what force. And certainly adding into that the defence injury that she's got to her hand. It's quite hard to conceive how it was self-defence.
You feel enormous responsibility for Shannon's family and for Shannon. Pablo tried to paint a picture of self-defense to get out of going to prison for a long time. But there's a wealth of scientific evidence and witnesses that disprove his account and show that he's lied throughout.